My parents didn't raise their voices. They didn't cry. They didn't plead. They just looked across the dinner table at our home in Riverside, California, hands folded as if they were delivering a sermon, and said the words that would split my world in half. The best gift you can give for your brother's wedding is you disappearing from this family, forever. I'm Jessica, and I'm 28 years old. For as long as I can remember, I've been the shadow in my family. The helper. The fixer. The one who showed up early to Thanksgiving and stayed late cleaning dishes while everyone else watched football in the living room. My brother, Brandon, was the sun. Everything orbited around him. When he got a B in high school, it was celebrated like a Nobel Prize. When I graduated summa cum laude from UC Irvine, my father patted my shoulder and said, "That's nice," before turning back to Brandon's baseball game on TV. I learned early that love in our house wasn't distributed equally. It was earned by one person and rationed to the rest of us. 6 months ago, Brandon announced his engagement to a woman named Courtney. My mother cried tears of joy. My father opened a bottle of Dom Perignon he'd been saving for something special. They asked me what I thought. I smiled and said, "I'm happy for you both." What I didn't say was that I'd met Courtney exactly twice, and both times she'd looked at me like I was part of the furniture. But that didn't matter. Brandon was getting married, and that meant our family was entering its Super Bowl season. 3 days after the engagement, my mother handed me a 3-ring binder. "You'll handle the planning," she said. Not a question. A royal decree. I opened it. Inside were magazine clippings, Pinterest printouts, vendor lists, budget spreadsheets that made my stomach drop. "Mom, this is a lot. Maybe you should hire a professional." "We don't need strangers," she interrupted. "We have you." The binder felt like a brick in my hands. I thought if I did this, if I planned the perfect wedding, maybe I'd finally earn a seat at the table. Maybe they'd see me the way they saw Brandon. So I said yes. I worked my regular job as a junior accountant at a firm in downtown Riverside, then came home and worked my second job, unpaid wedding planner. I called venues. I tasted cakes. I interviewed photographers. I spent my weekends driving across Southern California comparing flower arrangements and arguing with caterers about whether salmon or filet mignon was more elegant. I used my savings, $18,000 I'd been putting away since college, to secure deposits. Venues wanted money up front. So did florists, bands, and caterers. "We'll pay you back," my father said, waving his hand like it was already done. I believed him. For 3 months, I barely slept. My apartment in downtown Riverside became wedding command central. My coffee table was buried under fabric swatches and seating charts. I thought I was building something beautiful. I didn't realize I was building my own trap. The dinner happened on a Tuesday. My mother had set the table with her good china, the set she only used for special occasions. Candles flickered. A pot roast sat steaming in the center. I thought maybe, just maybe, they were going to thank me. Instead, they destroyed me. The first crack appeared 2 weeks before the wedding. I was scrolling through Facebook during my lunch break at work when I saw it. A post from Brandon in a local wedding group. "Does anyone know a reliable wedding planner in the Riverside area? Ours is slow and unprofessional. Need someone ASAP." I stared at my phone screen, reading it 3 times to make sure I wasn't imagining things. He was talking about me. I had spent 90 days sacrificing my free time, my sleep, my savings. I had coordinated 17 vendors. I had created a timeline down to the minute. I had taste-tested 4 different kinds of barbecue sauce for the rehearsal dinner. And he called me slow. Unprofessional. The comments piled up underneath. "Try elegant affairs in Corona. They're pricey but worth it. Whatever you do, avoid using family. Always a disaster." Then Courtney commented, "We just need someone competent. Not someone treating this like a hobby." A hobby. My hands shook as I set my phone down on my desk. Around me, co-workers typed and talked and lived their normal lives while mine was crumbling in a Facebook thread. I called Brandon that night. "Hey," he answered, distracted. I could hear Courtney laughing in the background. "Why did you post that?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "Post what?" "On Facebook. About needing a new wedding planner." Silence. Then, oh, that. Yeah, that. He sighed like I was inconveniencing him. Look, don't take it personally. Courtney's just stressed. The wedding's in 2 weeks and there are still things that aren't confirmed. Everything is confirmed, Brandon. I sent you the master timeline last week. Did you even read it? I skimmed it. Skimmed it. I've been working on this for 3 months, I said, my voice rising despite myself. I used my own money to book half these vendors because you and Mom and Dad kept saying you'd pay me back. And we will, he interrupted. Jesus, Jessica, why are you being so sensitive? Your family. This is what family does. There it was. The word that was supposed to make everything okay. Family. As if being related gave them the right to use me like an unpaid assistant and then trash me online. I need the deposit money back, I said. $18,000. I covered it with my savings. Yeah. After the wedding. We are tight right now with the honeymoon and everything. Brandon. Look, I gotta go. Courtney and I are watching Yellowstone. We'll talk later, okay? He hung up. I sat on my couch in my small studio apartment, surrounded by wedding binders and vendor contracts, and felt something inside me go very, very quiet. The kind of quiet that comes before a storm. I opened my laptop and started going through files. Every contract. Every receipt. Every invoice. Everything was in my name. The venue, booked under Jessica Thornton. The caterer, deposit paid by Jessica Thornton. The florist, the photographer, the band, the cake, all me. I had done everything they asked. I had played my role perfectly. And this was how they repaid me. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, staring at numbers on a screen, feeling something shift in my chest. Something final. The Tuesday dinner happened 4 days after that phone call. My mother had texted me that morning. Family dinner tonight. 7 p.m. Be there. I almost didn't go. But some old, loyal part of me, the part that still wanted to believe, showed up at my parents' house in their gated community in Riverside at 6:58 p.m. The table was set beautifully. Candles. Wine glasses. My mother's famous pot roast with roasted carrots and mashed potatoes. The smell reminded me of every holiday, every birthday, every moment I'd tried to belong. Brandon wasn't there. Neither was Courtney. Just me, Mom, and Dad. That should have been my first warning. Sit, my father said, gesturing to my usual chair. I sat. My mother served the food in silence. We ate for a few minutes, the only sound the scrape of forks on china. Finally, my father cleared his throat. Jessica, your mother and I have been talking. Here it comes, I thought. The thank you. The acknowledgement. We are concerned, he continued, setting down his fork. I looked up. About what? My mother jumped in, her voice measured and calm. About the wedding. About your presence there. The room tilted slightly. My presence. Brandon came to us, Dad said. He's worried you'll embarrass him. The word landed like a slap. Embarrass him? I repeated. How? Mom folded her hands, the same way she did when she was about to deliver bad news but wanted to seem reasonable. You have to understand, sweetheart. This is Brandon's big day. Courtney's family is very prominent. They have expectations. And you don't fit those expectations, Dad added, as if clarifying something obvious. I stared at them. These people who had raised me, who had taught me to tie my shoes and ride a bike and say please and thank you. What are you saying? I asked, though I already knew. My mother leaned forward, her eyes soft with what she probably thought was compassion. The best gift you can give for your brother's wedding is you disappearing from this family. Forever. The room went silent. Not the kind of silence where someone's about to speak. The kind where the world just stops. You want me gone, I said slowly. We want what's best for Brandon, Mom corrected. I've spent 3 months planning this wedding, I said, my voice flat. I used my savings. I did everything you asked. And we appreciate that, Dad said in the tone of someone ending a business meeting. But Brandon's happiness comes first. Brandon's happiness. Always Brandon's happiness. I looked at my mother. At my father. At the pot roast growing cold on my plate. They expected tears. They expected begging. They expected me to crumble. Instead, I stood. Okay, I said. They blinked. Okay. Mom repeated. You want me gone? I'm gone. I walked upstairs to my old bedroom, the one they'd already turned into a home gym, and grabbed my purse. When I came back down, they were still sitting at the table, confused. I walked to the front door, opened it, and stepped outside. The cool November air hit my face. Behind me, I heard my father say, Jessica. I closed the door. It clicked shut like the period at the end of a sentence. I didn't cry on the drive back to my apartment. I didn't scream or punch the steering wheel or call my best friend, Natalie, to vent. I just drove through the streets of Riverside in my Honda Civic, past the shopping centers and gas stations and fast food restaurants, feeling strangely calm. When I got home, I made chamomile tea, sat down at my kitchen table, and opened my laptop. The wedding was in 10 days. Everything was booked. Everything was confirmed. Everything was paid for, with my money. I pulled up the master document I'd created, a detailed spreadsheet with every vendor, every contact, every confirmation number. 43 line items. 43 moving parts of what was supposed to be Brandon's perfect day. The Riverside Mission Inn, the venue, $8,500 deposit, booked under my name. Blooms and Petals Florist, $2,200 deposit, my credit card. Strings attached live band, $3,000 deposit, my name on the contract. Valencia Catering, $4,100 deposit, charged to my account. And on and on. I hadn't planned to do what I did next. I'm not a vindictive person. I don't believe in revenge. But sitting there, sipping my tea, I realized something. They had asked me to disappear. So I would. Completely. I started with the venue. I called the Riverside Mission Inn and asked for the events coordinator, a woman named Patricia who I'd been emailing for months. Hi Patricia, this is Jessica Thornton. I need to cancel the reservation for November 18th. A pause. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. May I ask why? Change of plans, I said simply. I understand. Just so you know, because you're cancelling within 14 days, you'll forfeit 30% of the deposit. But we can refund the remaining $5,950. That works. Please process that refund to my card. Will do. I'll email you confirmation within 48 hours. Next, I called the florist. Hi, this is Jessica Thornton. I need to cancel my order for November 18th. The woman on the phone sounded surprised. The Thornton Mitchell wedding? That's so soon. I know. I'm sorry for the late notice. Well, we can refund 70% of your deposit since we haven't started arrangements yet. That's $1,540. Perfect. One by one, I made the calls. The band, $2,100 refund. The caterer, $2,870 refund. The photographer, full refund because I'd only paid half up front. The cake designer at Sweet Endings Bakery, $400 refund. Some vendors were sympathetic. Some were annoyed. None of them argued. Everything was in my name, paid with my money. By the time I finished, it was past midnight. I had made 17 phone calls. I had recovered $14,200 of my $18,000. The rest was gone, cancellation fees, non-refundable deposits, but I didn't care. I transferred the refunded money back into my savings account and watched the balance update. Not revenge. Just withdrawal. I thought about texting Brandon. Or my parents. Giving them a heads up. But then I remembered. The best gift you can give is disappearing. So I disappeared. I turned off my phone, climbed into bed, and slept better than I had in 3 months. The next morning, I blocked my parents' numbers. Blocked Brandon. Blocked Courtney. Then I went to work like it was any other Wednesday. At my desk, I ate a turkey sandwich and answered emails and pretended I hadn't just dismantled an entire wedding. It felt good. It felt like freedom. The wedding was scheduled for Saturday, November 18th at 4 p.m. I woke up that morning in my apartment, made French toast, and watched reruns of The Office. I had unblocked my phone the night before, not because I wanted to talk to anyone, but because I was curious. The first message came at 9:47 a.m. Mom, Jessica, the florist just called and said our order was cancelled. What is going on? I sipped my coffee and didn't respond. 9:52 a.m. Dad, call me immediately. The venue says they have no record of our reservation. I turned my phone to silent and kept watching TV. By 10:30 a.m., my voicemail was full. I listened to them during a commercial break, putting the phone on speaker while I washed dishes. First message, Mom, voice tight. Jessica, I don't know what you did, but you need to fix this right now. People are arriving in 5 hours. Second message, Brandon, screaming. Are you kidding me right now? Where are the flowers? Where is the food? Call me back. Third message, Dad, trying to sound calm and failing. Jessica, whatever happened at dinner, we can talk about it. But you can't do this to your brother. This is his wedding day. Call me back. Fourth message, Courtney, crying. My parents are asking what's going on. The guests are going to be here and there's nothing. Please, Jessica, please fix this. Fifth message, Mom again, voice breaking. How could you do this? How could you be so selfish? I deleted them all. My phone kept buzzing. Text after text. Brandon, you're dead to me. Mom, you've destroyed this family. Dad, I can't believe we raised someone so cruel. I poured myself more coffee and opened my book, a mystery novel I'd been meaning to finish for weeks. At 2 p.m., my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. Hello? Jessica? A woman's voice. Familiar but distant. Who is this? It's Aunt Diane. I'm at the venue. Or, well, what was supposed to be the venue. Jessica, what happened? Aunt Diane. My dad's sister. The one family member who had ever treated me like a person instead of a servant. They asked me to disappear, I said simply. Silence on the other end. Then, what? Mom and Dad. They told me the best gift I could give Brandon was to disappear from the family. Forever. So I did. Oh, honey. Her voice dropped. They actually said that. At dinner. Tuesday night. She exhaled slowly. I'm looking at an empty ballroom right now. There are 70 guests standing around with no flowers, no food, no music. Your mother is crying in the bathroom. Brandon is yelling at some poor hotel manager. It's a disaster. I didn't ruin anything, I said calmly. I just stopped carrying it. Good, Aunt Diane said firmly. Good for you. I blinked, surprised. You've been their workhorse for years, she continued. I've watched them take and take and take. I'm glad you finally walked away. You're not mad. Mad? Honey, I'm proud of you. We talked for 20 more minutes. She told me about the chaos, the guests whispering, Courtney's mother demanding answers, my father trying to salvage something from nothing. When we hung up, I smiled. Sunday morning, I woke up to silence. No frantic calls. No angry texts. Nothing. For the first time in months, my phone wasn't vibrating with demands. I made pancakes, went for a run along the Santa Ana River Trail, and came back to my apartment feeling lighter than I had in years. That afternoon, I got a text from Natalie, my college roommate and best friend who lived in Austin. Natalie, okay, I know you said you were dealing with family stuff, but I just saw your mom's Facebook post. What happened? I opened Facebook, something I rarely did, and found my mother's page. She had posted a long, dramatic message. Yesterday was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives. Instead, it turned into a nightmare because of one person's selfishness. My daughter Jessica cancelled every vendor for her brother's wedding without telling anyone. She destroyed months of planning and broke her brother's heart. I don't understand how someone could be so cruel to their own family. We are devastated. The post had 143 comments. Most were sympathetic. "I'm so sorry. That's horrible. How could she do that?" But then I scrolled further. Aunt Diane had commented, "Interesting how you leave out the part where you told her to disappear from the family forever." My mother had deleted it. But Aunt Diane had posted again, "Deleting my comments won't change the truth. You used that girl for months, took her money, then threw her away. She didn't ruin the wedding. You did." And this comment was still up, with 56 likes. Below it, other family members had chimed in. Cousin Kelsey. "Wait, Jessica planned the whole thing and paid for it? And you kicked her out?" Uncle Paul. "This is ridiculous. Jessica was always the responsible one. What did you people do to her?" My mother had stopped responding. I closed Facebook and didn't reopen it. That week, I got emails from 3 vendors asking if I wanted to leave reviews. I left honest, positive reviews for the ones who had been professional and kind during the refund process. On Wednesday, Brandon called from a number I didn't recognize, probably Courtney's phone. I let it go to voicemail. "Jessica. It's me. Look, we need to talk. The wedding was a disaster. Mom and Dad are barely speaking. Courtney's family thinks we are insane. I know you're mad, but you can't just disappear like this. We are family." I deleted it. Thursday, my dad sent an email to my work account, the only contact he had left. Subject: "We need to talk. Jessica, your mother and I have discussed what happened. We may have spoken harshly at dinner. We were under stress. But what you did was unforgivable. You owe your brother an apology. You owe this family an apology. We are willing to move past this if you take responsibility for your actions." I marked it as spam. Friday evening, I got a letter in the mail. Hand-delivered to my apartment building. It was from Brandon. Inside was a single piece of paper. "You ruined the most important day of my life. I will never forgive you. Stay out of this family." I folded it carefully, placed it in a drawer, and went back to making dinner. Chicken stir-fry with jasmine rice. It tasted perfect. 3 months later, I sat in a coffee shop in downtown Riverside, across from Aunt Diane. She'd invited me to lunch. Well, coffee and pastries, and I'd almost said no. But she'd been the only family member who defended me, so I figured I owed her that much. "You look good," she said, studying me over her latte. "Better than I've seen you in years." "I feel good," I said honestly. And I did. After the wedding disaster, I'd expected to feel guilty. Or sad. Or something heavy. Instead, I felt free. I'd started seeing a therapist, Dr. Nguyen, a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who specialized in family trauma. She'd helped me understand that what my parents did wasn't love. It was control. "You were the family scapegoat," she told me during our second session. "The person they could always rely on to absorb the blame and do the work without complaint." It was the first time someone had named it. I'd also started taking a pottery class on Thursday nights, something I'd always wanted to do but never had time for. My bowls were lopsided and ugly, but they were mine. "How's Brandon?" I asked Aunt Diane, mostly out of politeness. She sighed. "He and Courtney postponed the wedding. They're planning something small in the spring. Your mother is pretending everything's fine, but I know she's humiliated." "Good," I said, and meant it. Aunt Diane smiled. "You know, your grandfather would have been proud of you." My grandfather, Dad's father, had died when I was 12. He'd been the one person in the family who'd seen me. Really seen me. "He used to say you had a spine of steel," Aunt Diane continued. Guess he was right. We talked for another hour. She told me about her life, her kids, her messy divorce from 5 years ago. She apologized for not speaking up sooner. "I should have said something," she said. "I watched them treat you like hired help and I stayed quiet." "You spoke up when it mattered," I told her. "That's enough." When we parted ways, she hugged me tight. "Don't let them back in," she whispered. "They'll try. But don't let them." "I won't," I promised. That night, I sat by the window in my apartment, looking out at the city lights. My phone was on the table, silent. No demands. No guilt trips. No expectations. I opened my journal, a habit I'd started in therapy, and wrote one sentence. Some doors close quietly, but they stay closed. I thought about Brandon's wedding, about the chaos, about my mother's Facebook post and my father's email and Brandon's letter. I thought about all the years I'd spent trying to earn love that was never going to be given, and I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just peace. Because here's what I'd learned. The people who love you don't ask you to disappear. They don't take your money and your time and your heart and then throw you away like garbage. Real family doesn't work that way. And if they couldn't see my worth, that was their loss, not mine. I closed my journal, finished my tea, and went to bed. Outside, the world kept spinning. And for the first time in 28 years, I was spinning with it, on my own terms.